Hi, so fell free here. So we've picked them, we've washed them, we've saved a few laney birds and other sort of grubby things, and then we pricked them and froze them. The next day we macerated them in some gin. Well, it was actually vodka, but then we put in some botanicals of gin, and then we put them in a demijohn. We shook them for a little while every day for the first month, and then we left them for about a month and a half, 2 months. I must admit I was tapping off of it at the time, so while I had 2 litres to start off with, that went down to about 1.5 litres, and then 1 litre, and then I think I topped it up with a bit more. So first of all, I strained out the mixture in the demi-jars. A lot of this was bulk from the berries, and then gave it a bit of a compression down. Ideally you'd leave this to drip for a little while, but time was against me. And then I had an idea of straining it over my AeroPress coffee brewer, and it didn't work out too well. I did have a couple of brand new metal sieves, and I did try a paper one. I even tried tapping it just to try and help it go through and stirring it, but that didn't help. In the end I was pushing it down. As I was pushing it down so hard, it must have popped out and around the seal of it, and it did come through, and it did start taking a little bit off, but really not a lot. As you can see, there really wasn't a lot that was filtered out from it. But no less, I kept trying. There's a little bit of wastage going on here. So in the end I decided to put it in a bottle and leave it to sit for about 2 weeks, so you can see the sediment now pooling at the bottom. I siphoned off the top layer, and this was actually quite nice and clear. It's almost like a red wine. With the rest of it I put into a coffee filter. Again, that seems to take forever. It's a bit of a bad idea as well. If you leave it for any length of time, alcohol starts evaporating off. Tapping it and stirring it, that didn't work. So in the end I got a sieve and just poured it in. I did this a couple of times, stirring it, and that took out some of the bigger bit. In the end, I thought if I leave it in the sieve, any particles will start to jam up, and then that will create a finer filtration method for the rest of it to then filter out. And it kind of did. It took about half an hour. Now I looked at this Orano to try and get the sugar syrupy contents that I wanted it to be close to, and I think I worked it out to be about 300 grams per litre. This then goes into a saucepan with just a little covering of water. You don't have to completely cover the sugar, just enough to get it to start to dissolve. Obviously the more water you put in, the more you're going to have to boil it for, the longer the time to boil. Make sure it's all dissolved, there's no lumps in it. Any lumps that there is in there, just sort of stir through, and then remove as much of the sugar crystals that you can around the side, because what would happen is when it starts to heat up, this can actually crystallize even more and completely ruin it. Then we're going to bring it up to a boil, and then we're going to wash it with just water and a pastry brush. This then will push any of the sugar solution that's started to go on the sides of the pan, that will start to then crystallize down actually into the liquid. There's a couple of ways of doing this. This is one way. You can use the pastry brush and some water. And the second way is you can put a lid on it, and then the steam from the lid condense on the sides of the walls of the saucepan, and then help to push any of that solution that's on the side down back into the pan. We're aiming to boil it to about anywhere between 107 to 112 degrees Celsius. We'll make a thread sugar. So we went up to 108. And as soon as you get up to there, you want to then put it in a bain-marie pour another saucepan of cold water to stop any further cooking of the sugar. It's not too important when doing this. Aim for 108. If you have a couple of seconds and it goes over to 109, 110, it's not the end of the world. You just have a bit more of a thicker syrup. If you're doing caramel, the difference can be perfect caramel and burnt caramel in a matter of seconds. This is what I mean by thread sugar. Put the two little bits, obviously do this when it is cold or warm. If you put the two little bits in between your fingers and pull them apart, you'll see tiny little threads. Once this is cooled down for 5-10 minutes or so, then it can be mixed in to your spirit. In our case, the Sloe Gin. Obviously I didn't filter it all the way, and there's still little bits of sediment in the bottom of the saucepan, and this isn't ideal. It's not too bad. Ideally I'll build a vacuumized filtration unit which will help just suck the liquid through a lot quicker, making a cleaner product at the end. It tastes quite good. IFL3 over and out.